What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. Wow. This whole situation with Errol Spence, HAYMON, and the PBC trying to set up and otherwise diminish Manny Pacquiao's legacy by pulling out, faking injuries, trying to set him up, coming up with a whole little goofy cover-up plan is shocking, and it just keeps going from strength to strength. First, before Errol Spence pulls out, I'll start hearing little things that Errol Spence is super nervous. Then he pulls out. Then he fakes an eye injury. Then he shows no evidence. Then he wheels out NSAC Commissioner Bob Bennett to talk pure hearsay, which is not admissible in court, aka it's good for nothing. Oh, he had a retinal detachment. Oh, oops. Got it wrong. I mean, retinal tear. Oops. That was Bob Bennett's statement. It was contradictory, and it, again, like I said, it's not admissible. It means nothing. Why is Bob Bennett being wheeled out to talk about things that the doctor should be talking about? Innit? Does that make sense to you, man? Why is a commissioner being wheeled out when there should be 3 doctors? Let's not forget that. At least 3 doctors. They said 3 doctors looked at it, and we had a surgeon as well. Oops. So 4 doctors, so not one can comment, but you got Bob Bennett doing a whole bag of hearsay. But anyway, I digress. Like I said, they wheeled out Bob Bennett, NSAC Commissioner, to chat hearsay. Then, we had the actual fight, where they tainted or otherwise poisoned Manny Pacquiao's drink with cramping agent. And now finally, I've got some more information from my PBC informant. They've now told me that guess what? Your man Ugas and the PBC Protection from Pacquiao program was essentially set up from the beginning. I've heard that Ugas was in fact told weeks in advance that he would be fighting Manny Pacquiao. So it's all the little dots, are coming together. People were saying, and even myself, people have been saying after the fight, during the fight, you know what? Isn't it interesting how well prepared Ugas was? How was he so prepared? Now we know why, how he was so prepared. He was so prepared because he was told, listen, you will be fighting Pacquiao. Errol Spence is going to pull out 100%. So no, you will be the one fighting Pacquiao. Makes perfect sense now. It makes perfect sense how Ugas was so calm. He wasn't shocked, was he? He wasn't panicked. His legs weren't cramping, number one, because they didn't taint Ugas' drink like they did Pacquiao's. Most importantly, Ugas was prepared for Manny Pacquiao from the jump. Categorically. They knew they were going to try to diminish Manny Pacquiao's legacy and otherwise get Errol Spence off the hook from fighting Pacquiao. Because let's not forget this, people. People have got short memories. For years, people were saying there's no way Manny Pacquiao will want to fight any of the top guys. Then he whooped Keith Thurman. Don't ever forget that. But that wasn't the end of it. When Manny Pacquiao whooped Keith Thurman, still the whole PBC narrative was, yeah, Manny Pacquiao whooped Keith Thurman, but Keith Thurman was the B tier. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, Manny Pacquiao don't want nothing to do with them. That was the narrative. And guess what? Team Spence, the PBC, they were content. They were happy with that narrative. That narrative serves them. Oh, we've got one of the greats scared of us. That narrative is extremely valuable. Guess what? They enter contract negotiations. But from what I understand, and from what I've heard from my PBC source, the whole point of the contract negotiation, from the PBC's point of view, was almost as a publicity stunt. They was expecting to announce, oh, we're in contract negotiations, expecting Pacquiao not to come through, if that makes sense. At which point, they thought, yeah, Manny Pacquiao, he's old, he's not going to want nothing to do with Errol Spence, so we can make out that we've kind of punked Manny Pacquiao. Yeah, we entered into contract negotiations and he didn't want it. I told you he was scary. I told you he didn't want nothing to do with Errol Spence. That's what they were expecting from the jump. They weren't expecting Manny Pacquiao to have developed some old school Shawshank Redemption sister prison love for Errol Spence. Manny Pacquiao loves them African American tight little buns that Errol Spence be carrying. No doubt, he loved them. Told you before, Manny Pacquiao has Shawshank Redemption style prison love from Errol Spence. And that's where they went wrong, you see. The PBC weren't expecting that. They thought Pacquiao was going to duck negotiations and they'd be able to ride off into the sunset, carry on fighting bums, as they've been doing, carry on ducking Terence Crawford, and carry that clout of, yeah, see, he didn't want it. Manny Pacquiao didn't want it. We're the GOAT killers. The GOATs don't even want to fight us, because you man have got a short memory. Do you man not forget? Do you man not remember that? Do you not remember, for years, the narrative's been, oh, Manny Pacquiao, what's he doing here? He doesn't want to fight the best. He'll never fight Errol Spence. Oops. Next thing you know, Manny Pacquiao's fully signed up, and Errol Spence don't turn up. And then after the fight, Errol Spence makes it clear he don't want nothing to do with Manny Pacquiao. And you want me to believe that, despite how well prepared Ugas was, despite Manny Pacquiao's legs allegedly cramping up for some unknown reason, you want me to believe that all this stuff happened for no reason? Despite hearing otherwise. Get serious. Be real now. Live on planet Earth. Yeah? The facts are the facts, and the facts are Errol Spence did not turn up. Bottom line. Now, if you think he didn't turn up for a genuine reason, based on one picture and a shoddy, contradictory statement from the NZAC commissioner, and just look at how Errol Spence has conducted himself. He put out one picture, and we didn't hear from him since. Now all of a sudden the fight's over, and from his point of view the coast is clear. He all in the video again. Errol Spence went silent for 2 weeks. Couldn't hear nothing from him. Now all of a sudden he all in the video, all in the interview, all doing all whatever else, all everywhere. I thought you was blind. I thought you was super sick. I thought you was super missing. I thought you was pleading the fifth. And you best believe, team, ever since your man the YB leaked the information from a PBC source that Manny Pacquiao's drink was tainted with cramping agent, you best believe Team Spence, they pleading the fifth right now. They lawyered up, yeah? They in witness protection. And now, even more information is being leaked. Ugas was told, from what I'm hearing, between 4 and 6 weeks out from the fight, that he would be the one. Which makes sense. Manny Pacquiao and Errol Spence get signed. Around 8 weeks out, they start getting super nervous energy about the fight. We've seen Errol Spence getting lit up in sparring. Around 6 weeks out, Ugas is told, listen, you're going to be the man. It's all lining up perfectly. So now we know how Ugas was so prepared. He knew what was going to happen. Now we know how... Think about it. This was Ugas' first big fight as such. First massive pay-per-view fight. How was he so calm? How was he so prepared? It wasn't because it was in it. 10 days notice and the biggest fight of your life and I'm sorry, I don't believe it. And the thing is, again, many people have been saying Manny Pacquiao on his day would have whooped Ugas all over the ring. Possibly even stopped him. Why? Ugas was doing... This is what makes me frustrated the most, yeah? Ugas had no footwork. He was literally there to be hit. But Manny Pacquiao's legs were so cramped up And what frustrates me is we've never seen Manny Pacquiao's legs this bad. Ever. In round 2 as well. Don't tell me about his old. Old's got nothing to do with it. Old doesn't kick in after 3 minutes. Old is the last 6, 7 rounds. 8 rounds. Not in round 2. And even round 1, to be honest, Pacquiao weren't looking right. And you want me to believe it's all... You want me to believe, despite hearing from people in the PBC, that the drink was goofy. Pacquiao's drink had been tainted. What do we know? I've already explained this. It was a PBC event. PBC provide all the water. Unless you go out of your way to source your own stuff, which you should really do, but, I mean, who's to know that this kind of skullduggery is going on? You best believe, if I was in the camp, from now on, all boxers should handle their own stuff with their own people. Especially when dealing with these goofies, with HAYMON and the PBC. Especially after Spence, the younger man, who allegedly really wanted this fight with Pacquiao, pulls out and shows no evidence. The minute goofy, inexplicable things start happening, you've got to be on your P's and Q's. Pacquiao's team should have been all over this, really. I've got to say that. They should have... This right here, for me, was a schoolboy error. Pacquiao's team should have been onto this. No, we're not taking PBC water. We're not taking the home promotions. And to be fair to Pacquiao's team, I understand. From their point of view, they're thinking, well, yes, PBC is the home promotion, but equally, we are a PBC fighter. But what Pacquiao doesn't understand is, yes, you're represented by a PBC, but really, I'm sorry to break it to you, we all know, or you should know, or you're naive if you think differently, but Pacquiao will never be a PBC fighter as such. He'll never be seen as a PBC home fighter. Why? His best years were with Top Rank. His best years weren't with PBC. In fact, his best years, he was enemies with PBC, because Floyd was on the PBC side. Just because they've teamed up to make money, Pacquiao was never going to be an A-side fighter as such. He was never going to be a home fighter. Especially not at this age, at 42 years old. Or whatever, 44, whatever it is. Do you think your man's HAYMON is going to look at Manny Pacquiao's? Or do you think HAYMON and PBC are going to look at the business opportunities from Manny Pacquiao's point of view at 44 years old, or Errol Spence's? If you really need to ponder that question, then you're not in the thinking game. Team Pacquiao should have been approaching this fight, especially when things started acting fruity. They should have been approaching this fight with their head on a swivel, because they were set up from the jump. The minute Errol Spence pulled out, it sounded like a setup to me. I'm sorry. You got a prime dude pulling out. I'm sorry, it don't make no sense. Especially not all these years we've heard from Errol Spence. Oh man, I'm man down, and I'm the truth, and man down, and I'll fight no matter what. All that kind of stuff we've heard. I'll fight no matter what, and I'll do this, and I'll do that. And he pulling out against an old man. What? It stank like a cover-up from the jump. And now look, now we find out that Ugas was told from the jump, you're gonna be going in there 6 weeks out. And from what I'm hearing as well, they could have easily told. This is what I'm saying about the PBC protection from Pacquiao program. PBC could have told Manny Pacquiao 6 weeks before, when Ugas found out. They could have said, Manny Pacquiao, you're going to be fighting Ugas in 6 weeks. They could have done that. But again, this shows you the orientation of the PBC. They see, despite having Pacquiao on their books, that's all he is. From the PBC's point of view, they're still arch enemies. Don't get me wrong, PBC are happy to take a 20% cut of Pacquiao's revenue. No problem doing that, or Pacquiao's income. But from a personal point of view, they're enemies. The business side, yeah, they've got no problem taking. Why not take extra 20% for nothing? But every action they make was prejudicial against Pacquiao. He told Ugas 6 weeks out, you're going to be fighting Pacquiao. He had no uncertainty. And the rest was a formality. Errol Spence dropping out. They wanted you to cause Pacquiao the least comfort. To make Pacquiao's situation the most uncertain. Pulling out only 10 days before. Even though they knew Errol Spence weren't going to make the jump 6 weeks out. They could have rescheduled it all. Why didn't they tell Pacquiao? Well, they didn't want him to win. They wanted Pacquiao to lose, so Errol Spence had a nice, easy get-out clause. Another thing. Another reason I'm hearing they left the pull-out so late was to back Pacquiao into a corner. If they'd have told Pacquiao 6 weeks out, Pacquiao may have opted to choose a different opponent, if that makes sense. They didn't want that. They wanted Pacquiao in there with someone at the last minute who had prepared for Pacquiao the whole time, if that makes sense. If Pacquiao, 6 weeks out, Pacquiao could just cancel the fight and reschedule it. But like I said, they didn't want that. 6 weeks out, that's no good, because guess what? Pacquiao will say, no worries, I'll wait for you, Spence. They had to do it a week out. Because then Pacquiao knows his fans have paid money for tickets and whatnot. They know Pacquiao isn't going to want to let fans down. So it had to be last minute. Oh yeah, look, see Pacquiao, we've got to go ahead now. You've got to now fight Ugas. Pacquiao thinking, well, you know, whatever it is what it is, not understanding the wider context here. He'd been set up from the jump. He'd been set up to lose. And just, if you don't believe me, if you don't believe my source, just look at Team Spence's reaction. Pacquiao loses, and they say, oh no, we don't want nothing to do with him. He hasn't got a belt. On the night, talking about how we don't want nothing to do with Pacquiao. I thought you had an injury, and you're really sorry, and you couldn't believe your luck, and think about it. If you have an injury, and you're really sorry, and it's a big accident, and you can't help it, how does that translate to 10 days later? Oh no, we don't want nothing to do with him. He hasn't got a belt. There's no point fighting him now. Again, if you dudes can't read between the lines here and see the wider narrative that's going on, you're dopey. Especially when someone like the YB is breaking you the news. I'm out here day and night, gathering sources, collecting deep information, no doubt. Pacquiao is set up from the jump 6 weeks out. That's the facts right now.